Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily.
And we are on our last episode of Joe's Life, the 1993 Peter Honorati, Mary Page Keller ABC sitcom, possibly from the producers of Full House. I don't think we ever did that much research.
No, we didn't.
But we could have, but we didn't.
Yeah.
We're on the last episode. You'll Be Sorry, Y-U-L-E. It's a Christmas episode, though it's unclear when Christmas occurs.
Yeah. Christmas is just the backdrop.
Yes.
There's some subplots, some bad subplots around it, and it lays the foundation for the main plot, I guess, kind of.
Sort of. Maybe. They could have been having brunch every Sunday. We don't know.
That's true.
But yeah. So we're gonna get going with it, and then we'll be announcing next season's show, which I know and Emily doesn't.
I don't. I'm very excited.
So she knows what it's not.
I was hoping you would go back and pick it anyway.
I think there's nobody problematic or convicted of a crime or on trial for a crime, I don't think, in the cast of the show. But
good.
Hey, a week's a long time.
Yeah.
So let's talk You'll Be Sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have three things?
Let's talk about Mad Sandy. Let's talk about Big Gene energy and sorry. A pretty guy named Bob.
Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Frank the pig for sure.
Oh God. What a bastard.
You're already doing Mad Sandy. No, cheese logs and an inhaler is not good enough. Polly, farewell to Polly. We can talk about, and the kids in general. It's an interesting episode for the kids. And I don't know, arm squeezing. I don't know, or no, actually, marrying young. Marrying young will be the last one. Okay,
great. So we start the episode in the kitchen. Joe is wearing a very tight t-shirt, helping Gene write a letter to Santa about what a good little boy he's been. And we find Sandy comes in very quickly, bursts through the door, angry.
Livid,
because the pictures that got developed, anybody less than 40 years old probably doesn't remember a time when you had to have film in your cameras and go, not to sound like that person. I don't want to sound like that person, but the pictures she got back from the photo place were of the wrong family. They were going to use those photos for their Christmas cards, and she is pissed off that she does not have her family photos. So that interrupts Scott and Joe, and then they go back to their business after the angry woman blazes through of writing the Christmas card letter. Now, this my first 2 points straight off. So Mad Sandy, put a pin in that. She's going to be a fucking bitch throughout the whole goddamn
entire episode. It's like wild.
It's a wild character development. It's insane. But we're going to go right into Big Gene energy, where Joe is like, oh, we're telling Santa what a good little boy you were. Did you want to tell him about the time that you took Amy's bra in for show and tell? And I was like, ugh, we were joking about how he's a little Gene, and here he is proving himself to be little Gene. Now, luckily for this girl, unlike Allison Hannigan, like, she's never present for any of this humiliation. Like, we don't see a lot of her being humiliated in the TV show. Poor Allison Hannigan in free spirit was just constantly being humiliated by her brothers and her father. I was really disappointed by this ending for Jean, or for Scott, but I guess it was coming. All signs were pointing in that direction, right? We called it from day one. He still had his rat tail.
I missed the rat tail this episode. That's a bummer.
I looked for it, especially. Okay. There's some point where he gets out of the chair and turns around and walks away. And so they stop writing the letter because Scott realizes that his dad knows all of the bad things that he's done, and he could write a better letter himself. So he gets all the presents he wants, and he storms away. And is that can't be the credits. That can't be the credits. Is it? Oh, Jesus.
Of course it is.
This show is so weird. Whatever.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I just went guns a-blazing because my first 2 points were like straight away.
Well, we now get to talk about how Ray is being reduced to a misanthropic asshole, maybe?
I mean, he's not quite at the level of Frank, but he's pretty fucking close. I mean, they are compatriots in their misanthropy, like you had said. I almost said misandry.
No, sadly, that'd be a better show. That'd be such a good show. Oh, it's just Barb talking about all these dudes. Oh, it'd be so good. I imagine that's what Mimi Kennedy's memoir's like.
Maybe Barb and Sandy can get together and just shit on. Like, maybe that's why Sandy's in such a bad mood.
But no, Ray's upset because we cut to the restaurant after the credits, and Stan and Joe come out to talk to Ray and Frank about how it's Christmas time, which is traditionally bonus time at Gennaro's. Has been for 60 years or whatever, but not this year because Rudy DeRico, one of their delivery men, broke his ankle, and so they gave Rudy their Frank and Ray's Christmas bonuses and then kicked in an additional something for a total of $2,500. Yeah. Now, $2,500 in 1993 money is equivalent to $5,300 approximately. That's a really good bonus for this ostensibly struggling restaurant.
Yeah, that's a pretty good bonus, depending on how much the brothers kicked in. So I can see why they'd be upset.
$500 would be a huge bonus for Gennaro's, I feel like. So yes.
So I can see why they'd be upset. But they just take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. Ray resents this senseless act of charity, to which Joe says, this guy's got
5 kids or something.
5 kids, and one of them has asthma. And Ray's like, get him a cheese log and an inhaler. Or no, Barb says that. Barb's on her way through to take out the garbage or something. What's
She's taking the garbage out.
Okay. Yeah. Because the men can't take out the garbage. Hey.
But did you notice in this kitchen scene, there were more background actors than we've seen pretty much since Sandy's party.
No.
There were several people working in the kitchen as waiters, bussers, whatever.
They don't get bonuses either.
No, they don't get bonuses either, but we've never seen anybody other than speaking role people in that area.
There might have been one guy back there in one episode, and I think we commented on it. So you can listen back and find it so you don't have to go watch Joe's life.
What a great idea. Thank you.
But we return to our alley set.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Now
that we haven't seen since Leo's friend
episode, right?
The I want to be friends with you still, Joe.
Even though I don't want to date your daughter. Yeah. Please talk to me in a bathroom in public. Okay. Who's disappeared from the show, even though he was Leo's best friend and they were working on a car, Leo's car.
In Joe's garage.
The Leo's car subplot disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Though we'll talk about where this show could have been headed, and I bet Leo's car would have been making a comeback. But anyway. So what does Barb see in the alley? Leo kissing some lady over by the dumpster.
Romantic.
romantic.
Ugh.
To which Leo says, "Ah, it's my mom." And Barb says, "Aw, you're still so excited to see me." And then he introduces her to his lady friend, Kelly,
Kelly,
who was
who is the
dropping her
most
off.
likable character in this whole episode.
Oh, possibly this whole show.
My theory is that the reason Sandy has to be a bitch is because there's only room for one nice, pretty girl.
Okay. Or Mary Page Keller was upset that she didn't get drooled
to make out
on
with Leo.
by any of the teenage boys. That pin in that. So this is Kelly. She's dropping me off. Blah, blah, blah. Nice to meet you, girl that Leo's told us nothing about. So then Barb calls out Joe. And here's where we get big Joe and Barb chemistry.
Yes.
If you were watching this show and you had not seen the opening titles or the opening sequence, you would think Joe and Barb were married.
Yeah. They've got really great chemistry.
They've got great chemistry together.
Comedy timing.
Yep.
Is great. Yeah. It's great. And there's a couple more instances of that throughout this episode.
Yes. And it's very weird. It's like pin in that for my theory about
but she's not as fuckable as Mary Page Keller. I understand.
Well, I mean, come on now.
1993.
Oh, Emily.
2023.
2023.
Yeah.
Oh, Emily. Oh, that's so cute.
I'm adorable.
What do you You're not watching enough network TV, Emily.
No, I'm not. I'm not watching any network TV. That's not true. So Joe comes out and he has a funny line too. I forget what it is, but it's funny. He says, she says, "Oh, this must be Uncle Joe." He talks about all the time, and Joe says, "Oh, I talk about myself all the time too. What a coincidence!" I thought that was funny, and he kind of mugs. He kind of mugs a couple of times, not to the camera necessarily, but it's like, I told a joke. I like that.
It's better than what he does the other times.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This is actually a really good episode for Joe. Mm-hmm. This is his biggest scene in the episode right here. Because that's not what the show was going to be in the back nine. Pin in that. Okay. So this is where we start doing the Barb is going to squeeze Joe's arm to show her anger at the situation.
Yes.
And the situation is that Kelly is 21 years old. To which Barb starts squeezing Joe's hand.
And Joe's going, ow, 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 ow.
They go inside, to which she grabs Stan's arm and starts squeezing it.
And pulls him into the back room. Yeah.
Which we don't see. It for a second, because first then we have Ray not wanting to work because he's not getting a bonus. Joe asks him to do something, and Ray's like, "Oh, maybe if I had $2,500, I'd do it," or something like that.
No, he's asked to take something to the back. I don't know, and he lifts up this big thing and then pretends he hurt himself, and he says, "Get a bag of ice, wrap it in $2,500.
Make your wacky board."
Yeah,
that's the only thing that'll help me.
Yeah.
So he's being petty about this bonus.
Yeah. Charming. But then Joe does it himself, and he takes it in to interrupt Barb and Stan.
Another funny scene for Joe.
Yeah. And then this is where Stan has, I guess, some of George DeCenzo's best, maybe his best line, where he's like, "Hey, I talked to Leo about all that stuff you wanted me to talk to him about. It was a really good talk. I learned so much stuff."
Yeah, essentially the birds and the bees talk, right? And his son is telling him everything.
I certainly hope there's a 4-book series about how media has encouraged men to ignore any responsibility for telling their sons not to be rapists. But anyway, so moving on to pin in that. God, the show. Okay. So then they asked Joe. Somehow Joe voices his opinion here.
So Mimi Kennedy is like, "Joe, talk some sense into Stan. Tell him that she's 21 years old." And he goes, "She's 21. Tell him that our son is 17. She's 17. tell him there's a huge age difference. She's a babe or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Eventually, she's a babe, so I'm not telling him anything.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and don't ask him to choose between her and you because you're going to lose.
Yeah. Like, she's that hot. You're going to lose this fight.
Okay.
Gross. First of all, gross.
On 3 to 5 levels.
Yeah.
Like, okay. So then we cut to the house where we're doing the family picture subplot, which ends here.
Which could have been really, really funny at the end. Like, after the commercials during the credits. That could have been super funny. But whatever.
No.
Instead we get Sandy being a fucking bitch again. Trying to get the whole family. I'm sorry I'm calling her a bitch. I know that that's bad, but I'm a woman. I'm going to do it. I could use another word, but I'm not going to use that one. She's being really, really testy with her family. The camera keeps messing up or somebody moves or whatever. So we get one really funny snapshot where it's like you see the happy holidays from the Gennaros, and then Joe's face is right up in the camera because he's trying to reset the timer. And then there's another one where Barb walks in. And Barb's like, hey, what's going on? And she looks right at the camera and she's got a big smile on her face. And the whole family is like devastated that she interrupted their picture.
There's also a picture of Joe's butt, which I will be getting framed for Emily. So.
Yes, there's a picture of Joe's butt. That's right. I forgot about that one. And so when Sandy comes in, or when Barb comes in, then that party's over. They're never going to have Christmas cards. Sandy storms away. I'll just get one of those.
Doing here, Barb?
Oh, yeah.
And Barb's like, you said to show up 12-ish. It's not 12-ish for at least another 20 minutes.
She is so mean to Barb.
So mean to Barb. Would you be mean to Barb?
Jesus Christ.
There is a plot point in this about how you don't be mean to Barb.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't learned that yet. She will, but she hasn't learned that yet.
Okay, pin in it. I think I know what happens in the back 9. And we're going to take care of Sandy. Okay, so yeah, my notes for this are Sandy, next line, is mean. Okay, they've run out of film too. They took 3 to 4 pictures and they're now out of film because it's a sitcom.
Yeah.
But they're having the regular brunch. And Joe's like, where's Stan? And Barb's like, he's at the 7-Eleven picking up those sticky buns that you say I bake so well, or something along those lines. Okay, so then Ding dong, Leo runs in and says, hey, is it okay if my girlfriend comes to brunch? And they're like, okay. And he's like, good, because she's waiting outside.
Mm-hmm. Imagine like having your date just wait outside in the cold, presumably. It's New Jersey.
Imagine having your date be introduced to your cousin and then everybody talking about how he wants to, I'm sorry, what is it? Will himself through puberty. So his balls have dropped so he can get busy with you, 21-year-old woman. Okay. And that was
a funny line.
It was funny, but
but in the context, it's fucked up. Yeah.
Okay. So in she comes and gets introduced to everybody. Everybody's polite to her because Barb's in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Amy, Barb gets mean. I mean, she's always a little bit mean.
Gets, yeah. That's why I was really hoping for a nice scene with them at the end. And then I was going to be like, holy shit, this show. But there's still some holy shit moments. But then it ends on a very big, oh shit, just, oh shit moment. But anyway, we'll get to it, folks. We'll get to it. But Paulie is panting. And so
Amy,
Amy calls
his voice is
that's right.
He's like, hello, so nice to meet you. And Amy interjects, like, I think he meant, and then she makes the dog face with her hands and goes,
yeah.
And I was like,
yeah,
you don't do that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, those kids do that because we've met their parents.
I mean, you could say, hey, stop that. If you're a 15, 16-year-old girl, you could be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is a grown-ass woman. What are you doing?
If this were free spirit, he would have tricked Winnie into dropping his balls, and that would be the plot.
And
Okay.
Allison Hannigan would have put up a fight. She would have been like, stop acting like a pig.
Right. And then they would have had to kill the girl and put her in a well
Yeah.
by the end of the episode. Okay. And Dad be like, I wonder why my wife left me.
Yeah.
Then there's like a mysterious log shot of the other grave in the backyard. Okay. So, yes, Barb comes in and goes, oh, hi, girl from the alley. It's so nice to meet you.
First of all, rude. Second of all, she's like, oh, it's no trouble at all. We'll just all eat less food. And it's like, fucking bitch, stop it. Stop being like, it's understandable to be upset about this. Not understandable to be rude.
So she drags Leo into the kitchen to have a little chat.
Yeah.
And she says, Leo, she's 21. What the hell does she want with you?
What could she want? This is the thing.
What does she want?
He's 17. This isn't like he's not independently wealthy.
No.
The family isn't wealthy.
It's also 1993, so they are not making the beast with two backs.
Yeah.
It is not like Leo's got an 11-inch tongue and no thing that Gene Simmons had cut off. On his tongue, everyone, don't be weird. Actually, Gene Simmons would have had the other thing cut off too.
But there is some allusion to that.
Sorry, by the way, piece of shit.
There is some allusion to that, though. It's like what are they? So Stan had the talk, the bees and the birds and the bees talk, and there's another scene where they're talking about it, and it's like, what are they doing?
They don't have any energy though. Like it's a very weird. We'll get to it, but she's like, and so Leo says, "Well, maybe she likes me, Mom." To which the honest response is, "You're Danny Masterson. She doesn't like you." But no, Barb says, "Oh, honey, you're a boy, and she's a woman." And he's like, "You're the one who only sees me as a boy." And Joe comes in and says, hey, we got to get this started because Paulie is willing himself through puberty out there. Try to imagine what the scene that we're not watching is, right? Scotty Jean is doing something annoying, like rubbing his rat tail on his face like it's a mustache. And Paulie is like looking down her shirt or something, like standing over her, staring down her shirt or something. Like it's
or like he gets like on something on casters and rolls himself underneath her legs so he can like Drop Dead Fred, right? Just like rolls himself underneath to look up her skirt.
Also, I don't know what episode number we're on between seasons, but is this your first Drop Dead Fred reference?
Yeah, okay. It might be. Yeah.
All right, cool. Hey, you gotta save it for the good ones. Okay. So this was not a thing, but they all knew where they were going to sit. I was like, where are they all going to sit? They all knew where they were going to sit. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Phone rings. Leo answers it for some reason.
Yeah, which was weird. It's not your house. What are you doing?
Not your house. This is not how people acted, young people in the 90s or the 80s.
But if you think about it, if any of the adults answered it, it wouldn't be as poignant when you discover who's on the other line. And if any of the kids answered it, I guess if like Amy had answered it, she'd be like, well, I think that would have been funnier.
Well, yeah, and it's also unclear. Okay, so the phone is for
Kelly,
which means she's like Sterling Hayden in The Godfather. She has to tell people where she goes. And she does because her babysitter is called in.
Yeah. I was a babysitter, so I know that when the parents leave, they leave the phone number of where they're going to be at so you can get a hold of them in case of an emergency. So it reads.
Responsible. Amy says, oh man, which I believe is Amy's last line in the episode.
No.
And the show. No.
Nope.
She has one more?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then Barb squeezes both Sandy and Joe's arms.
This is where Sandy gets her comeuppance, where she learns not to fuck with Barb.
And we cut to commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And we come back to Kelly on the phone with her babysitter. You promised to watch him. You can't just flake out because you have a date. Thanks a lot, Mom. So we've got a little bit of single mom shaming going on. Very subtle, It's a recurring theme on our program, going back to Freaks and Geeks. But then it turns out Leo doesn't know this information.
And they have a confrontation in front of the family.
Yes.
Which is weird.
And then Barb squeezes Joe some more, and Leo follows her out into the living room. And she's like, and Kelly's like, we were just having so much fun. There's not a good time to tell you I have a baby and a husband. And Leo's like, husband?
And this gets to my third point.
Yes.
He's shocked and he's like, husband, what else aren't you telling me? Next thing you'll tell me that I'm dating a pretty guy named Bob. And I was like, ugh.
I mean, not as bad as it could be.
True. I was a little...
I was like, am I gonna mark that, or are we just gonna? I was just like,
after all the single mom shaming, like back to back, I was just like, oh God.
Of course they're gonna do that, and also that's no doubt something Danny Masterson ad-libbed. Okay, so then she's like, you wouldn't understand. I knew you wouldn't understand, and he's like, you needed to give me a chance to understand.
Yeah.
And
he's
she's like
acting very mature. He's upset, but he's acting very mature, unlike his grown-ass mother.
But now they're separated. So basically, and we'll get into the young parenting thing, but so she's 21. We're going to meet the baby. The baby's about 1.
Yeah, probably
the baby's
less.
Not, you're right. The baby's not older than 1.
Yeah.
So that means she had the baby when she was 20, which
roughly
means she got pregnant at 19 or 20.
Right.
Which is probably about when
Sandy got pregnant, when Barb got pregnant. Right. I mean it tracks. I don't think it's unusual for a 20-year-old in 1993 to be pregnant
in a small town, New Jersey. Yeah. What also doesn't track is that Leo has no knowledge of this girl, because we have not gotten any real impression of the kids' school life, even though we've seen the little kids' school. We never saw the high school, did we?
No. But he's 17, she's 21. She would have been out of high school.
She would have been
before
out of high
he
school,
started.
But he potentially could have known of her.
Yeah.
So
depends on how small the town is, I guess.
Right. So we don't know where they are.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But first, she's going to just say goodbye, and she's going to leave, and Barb's ready to break out the champagne. And then the parents are like, all right, you guys need to go upstairs. And Scotty Jean's like, but I want to finish my food. And Paulie, in a very funny line, he's like, dude, as soon as the phone rang, I started shoveling the sausage in my mouth.
Yeah.
Paulie is the only one on this show that I would have thought should have kept going on sitcoms. He just needed, his future.
Good writer. He just needed a good writer.
He had really good timing.
And it's a funny line for a lot of reasons, but mostly because it's foreshadow. Obviously in the sitcom trope, this phone call means something is going to happen. This is pushing the story forward in a way
right.
that I am not going to be sitting at this dining room table for very long.
I don't get to be in the scene much longer, Scotty Jean. You got to pay attention. Okay. So now Barb is happy, and Sandy and Joe are kind of like, this is kind of shitty that you're just so happy about this. And she's like, look, Leo doesn't have time to be a daddy. It would cut into his hair maintenance time, which is not untrue. Okay. That is a very true statement that is acknowledging the fact that Danny Masterson probably spent an hour in the chair for that hair.
It is well established in legal documents that he does not like his hair being touched, because he likes his hair a lot. So it tracks. The actor and the character have this in common.
Barf. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So then Leo's going to go. Leo wants Stan's keys when Stan gets there, because he's going to go after her.
Right. He's trying to prove himself, because his mom's been giving him so much shit. Now he's trying to prove himself that, no, I am a man. I can do this. I'm going to go after her.
Yes.
We're going to work this out.
And Stan is bewildered, but lets him have the keys. And then has this really dumb sitcom line of like, this is why you should have gone and gotten the sticky buns. And I was like, this isn't a thing. This is not, did we have a scene where you were buying the sticky buns and it was a whole production? And nope, this was just a dumb sitcom line.
Yep.
Okay.
And this is the point where I realize he never gets to see this girl.
Oh.
After Joe's talking her up, he never gets to see her. Sorry. Yeah.
Gross.
Very gross.
Speaking of gross, let's cut to Gennaro's, where Stan answers the ringy phone. Merry Christmas. Hello. Hello. They've had 5 calls with nobody there. To which Frank says, "What does it an old guy choking on a piece of fat? Because that'd be my wife."
And gotta have one last one in there, right?
Ooh, Frank the pig. Okay. But then Joe answers the phone when Stan is talking to Frank about this, and it's Leo.
Yeah.
But Leo doesn't want to talk to Stan. Leo wants to talk to Joe. And in really fast amount of time, Leo apparently conveys to Joe that he is babysitting and he would like to babysit at Joe's house, so there are parents around to help him with the baby if he needs help.
Yeah, easy enough. He doesn't want to. This is George Costanzo's got a funny line where he says, "Oh, well, that makes sense. He wouldn't want to go to our house because Barb would be no help because she's got her head in the oven." What up?
Tell him he can't handle it. Tell him he's killing his mother. Tell him he doesn't have the brains God gave a jackass. To which we then cut to Joe's house. The scene is over. I was like,
yeah,
this is not the end of the scene. But okay, it's better that there's an end to the scene because...
And we cut to baby in a little baby carrier on a table. Leo on one side, Amy on the other. She's coochie cooing the baby. And she says... "Oh, he's so cute. I can barely stand it. I want a baby right now." Joe comes down the stairs and says, "Get your ass upstairs." Doesn't say ass. "Get upstairs and don't come down until I'm dead."
Yep.
Cool.
Grandpa Joe, what are you talking about? You think he wants to give his possession away to some... No. What are you talking about? Come on now. Okay. So then Leo's talking about it, how he's getting the hang of it. So then Joe and Leo talk. Joe says, "Babies grow up. Are you ready for that? Are you going to marry her? You're only 17. And this is where I'm like, how the fuck old was Sandy? So let's see.
She's a woman. That's different. More valuable the younger they are.
Mary Page Keller was born in 61, which means she was...
32.
32 on this show, and Amy is, we've established, 14 or 15?
15, I think. So she was 22.
No, she was 17. 32 minus 15 is 17.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we don't know how old the character is, but yes. Creepy.
Hold on. How old is Peter Onorati again?
He's much older.
He's 7 years older than her, 8 years older than her. So, yeah. He was like 25 dating a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Which actually completely tracks for these characters.
Yep.
Okay. So then Leo's like, "Look, man, if I wanted a lecture, I'd just be home." And
Joe backs off.
Okay. Joe backs off, but he is like, "Hey, it's not just some girl, man. It's a family."
Yeah.
And Leo's like, "Well, good, because I'm in love with her."
Well, but what they also don't mention is the husband.
Right.
Like, you're co-parenting. Your parents, you're going to be that to me, having known lots of young men, would be the killer. It would be like, I don't want that drama in my life.
But also you have to remember this is 1993 and co-parenting wasn't a term until 2012.
Yeah.
So there was no co-parenting. Okay. So then there's a slightly funny line about how Leo's going to take the baby in to feed him and they're going to watch Geraldo and they can both suck. I mean, Geraldo does suck.
Yeah.
though he sucked.
We didn't
less
even
than that.
know how much.
Yeah, we had no idea. We had no
In
idea how low
1993.
it could go.
Yeah.
Okay. So then Joe goes into the laundry room where Barb is hiding out. And she is
Go ahead. Sorry. No,
free.
they do the bottle thing. They put the bottle in the microwave, heat it up because they're feeding the baby, right?
Yeah, and then he leaves with it though.
So, but I was excited about that because Joe. So he's supposed to be helping, and he does by testing the temperature on his arm. But he doesn't say, "Oh, you have to test the temperature to make sure." He doesn't say, "This is why I'm doing this to make sure it doesn't scald the baby." So I was a little disappointed in that, but
You were disappointed in Joe's abilities to properly, positively reinforce the education of a person.
No, I was disappointed that he didn't say, "This is what I'm doing." He just did it.
Right.
But
You
he didn't
thought
say,
Of course not. Why would he say that?
because that's not an education. If you're
Of
just,
course it's
you're
not an education.
modeling the behavior, but you're not.
What show were you watching?
Fair enough.
Oh
So
God.
yes, Joe goes into the laundry room for some unknown reason, and
Barb is hiding
Barb
out.
is there. Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, he thinks he loves her. And he's like, you need to go talk to him. And she's like, not while he's nursing.
And then she realizes how absurd that sounds.
But then they go into the kitchen and she talks about how she's seen how this ends. It ends with in like underwear, passed out on a motel room floor with a beer bottle in one hand and something in the other.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, Leo's not old enough to drink. And I'm like, he's old enough to fuck a baby mama. He's probably old enough to find some booze. But then Barb's like, I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about me.
Waka waka.
Which was, yeah. So then they're like, let's go talk to him. But
ding dong.
Ding dong, as they
Kelly shows up at the door.
Yes, with Joe and Barb watching from the kitchen.
Yeah.
And Leo baby talks the baby and asks for a kiss from mom, and he gets a kiss on the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, can we try that again? And Kelly says, we need to talk.
And the shit hits the fan. And he realizes it. So everything that he says, the next like 3 lines that he has are all things that would be going through anybody's mind. Oh no, not a soft touch on the cheek. Mm-hmm. I'm really done for. Like he's narrating this experience for us.
So then she explains that, or she's like something about, she's like, we're not ready for a serious relationship. And Leo's like, that's okay. I'm a total flake. I'm not going to be serious. And she's like, look, I got married too soon, which I'm like, I mean, you don't seem to have gotten married because you were pregnant, though. But okay. Yeah. And you got married when you were 20 and then had a baby? Okay. I mean, we didn't tell young women that in 1993.
No, we didn't.
We hadn't even gotten to the point where we told them to go to college to meet their husband, for goodness sake. Like, what were you doing if you weren't married 6 months after high school?
Yeah.
Okay. She's like, I missed a lot of stuff in life, and being with you was a way for me to relive that. And I know that if we get together seriously, you're going to miss out on what I missed out on.
Yeah.
And if
kind of a sweet sentiment.
Sweet sentiment. But then she follows it up with, if it were 3 years ago, it would be perfect. 3 years ago, when she would have been 18.
Yeah.
So we are getting into this, like, she's not like a young mom, like, but anyway, to which Leo goes, I was 14. So
and he had a crush on some cartoon character. I don't remember.
Betty Rubble.
That's right.
So then he gets another cheek kiss. He gets a goodbye. He says goodbye to the baby, which is ostensibly sweet, but is actually just why the baby doesn't give a shit. It's a baby. Like, come on, man. Like, if you say goodbye to a puppy, at least the puppy's going to give you a kiss. Like, it's some baby. So
it adds to the sweetness, though.
It does add to the sweetness. It adds to Leo being sad and sweet because he thought he was going to be teen dad with a hot DTF. He's going to be Joe, just with a
Yeah.
little bit of age difference, reversal, but not quite as extreme. Okay. So then he sits down on the couch and he's sad and he's like, "Come in, Mom." She's like, "Could you hear my teeth grinding?" And he's like, "You were right. I'm an idiot." And she goes, "Words a mother longs to hear."
Yeah.
And then, is he okay? And she says, "I guess." And she's like, "I guess that's close enough."
And then, are you still mad at me?
And
And he
he's like,
says,
"Yeah, a
yeah.
little bit." She's like, "I'm sorry. I might have said a few things I shouldn't have, but you have to realize I'm still going to be your mommy when I'm 70,
Yeah.
when you're 70.
Yeah.
You might have to remind me who you are, but I'll still be your mommy."
Yeah.
And then she says, "Well, you'll get over it because I'm way too adorable to stay mad at," which is,
What he had said to the
"Oh, yeah."
girlfriend.
And then he's going to go wait in the car. So Joe gives him a reassuring pat. And Barb says, "It's better to have been loved and lost. It's better to have loved and lost than for me to have been called grandma."
Mm-hmm.
And then Joe makes a joke about how he can just see her in a rocking chair with a cat, to which she comes over and she pinches him again to remind him he is not to make jokes like that about her. And
He pinches himself.
he pinches himself. That's
Yeah.
right.
She walks up to do it and he does it to himself and pretends that it's painful.
Yes, but then he puts his hand on a hot pan.
Yes, then he puts his hand on a hot pan.
Funny. This show would be so much better if it were just the parents hurting themselves through stupidity. Okay. I'm sorry. What did you think Amy was going to talk again? Because
she did the goo goo gaga baby talk.
Okay.
She's talking.
In her room. Amy's still in her room. Okay. Then that's it. And we cut to the end credit scene, which is the guy who hurt himself coming in.
To thank them for their generosity.
Yep. He's like, "It really helped me while I was waiting for the $100,000 settlement to come through. I'm off to Vegas."
Yeah.
And Ray and Frank are
pissed.
And Frank goes, "Do you want to give anything else away? Maybe to somebody who really needs it, like Donald Trump." And I'm like, fuck this show.
Was Donald Trump the last words on this series?
He very much was, because it then didn't even wait for a laugh. It cut to Bob Myers Productions. So yes, that is what this show was. Okay, so my theory is this episode was setting up Leo to be more of a protagonist. Because we didn't have the kids in it so much, and it was a full plot for Leo, not one where he was ancillary to one of the other kids' plots.
Yeah.
So my thought was, they were like, okay, we're going to try to save it by making it about Leo. And in that case, you could have killed off Stan and
Barb.
Sandy. No.
Sandy. Oh.
And then you have Barb and Joe cohabitating, raising the kids without any, I mean, they can't fuck because
right.
Peter Honorati's, too hot. But that butt, you saw that butt just right there in your mind. I could see you just visualizing
those. Walked into a pair of Dockers with
those puffy cheeks and those Dockers. Oh yeah. Just wait for your Christmas card. Okay. But yeah, that's my theory, is that they were going to try to center the back half around Leo. And
that makes sense. That makes sense. And so it's obvious that they didn't know it was getting renewed, or it wasn't written
that it was
as like
canceled.
a bye-bye. Yeah, it got canceled, and I can see why. Do they? I don't think they have viewership on here. I'm too lazy to. I don't care. We're done. We fucking did it.
Somebody who worked at some sort of library that would have a extensive broadcast history, and that person could go and get all that information. It'd be great. Yeah. It'd be like we could have our own personal researcher.
Oh, that would be amazing.
It'd be great, but we don't. So, but yes, we are done. That is it for Joe's life.
That's it for Joe's life. I think it went off. This last episode was okay. I mean, there was a lot of bad stuff, a lot of problematic stuff, but the storyline was okay. I'm
Danny
sad to say that
Masterson's,
Danny Masterson was good.
yes, it's his best acting I've ever seen from him. Like,
Um,
far and away.
um, yeah. I mean, it was okay.
Yeah. I mean,
A little dull.
yeah,
The Christmas episode thing was a
red
throwaway.
herring. It was nothing. It was just for that stupid subplot.
Yeah.
We had nothing about the bonus. Nothing else
We
came in.
Sandy was only a bitch about for half of
Oh,
the episode because she wasn't in the other
in
half.
the other half, yeah. I forgot. Also, her Christmas card. That was the thing.
Oh yeah.
The kids disappeared ingloriously. We don't know what happened to Scotty Jean's Christmas letter.
We don't know what happened to
We,
Paul, and he's probably up beating off
oh my
the
God.
whole
Oh
episode.
my
The rest of the
God.
episode, he's just
She
upstairs like
she comes back in and she's like, "Hey, this is really weird. I had a bag of my laundry in the car and all of my underwear is gone." And we just see Paul running around. Okay. So anyway, yeah, don't watch Joe's Life.
What are we gonna watch next time?
We
Season
are
8 of
going.
Onesies. What are we
Season
gonna
8 of
watch?
Onesies is going to be the show. Let me get the title right. I'm wondering if you've heard of it. We are going to be watching the, of course, ABC, because I wasn't going to break the rules. 17 episode series. Yeah, oh yeah. Going to Extremes.
Oh,
1992 to 93 from the creators of Northern Exposure.
nice.
Yep.
All
Starring
right.
Erica Alexander, June Chadwick, Ray Dotrice, Camilo. I better figure out how to spell their name by the time we record. Joanna Going, Charles Keating, Andy Lauer, Carl Lumley, and Robert Duncan McNeil.
I am gonna
And
recognize these people when I see them, aren't
Daniel
I?
Jenkins. Yes. So this is probably a good show. So
All right. Well,
yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah.
Charles
So
Keating sounds familiar. She doesn't
wasn't he a
look.
president who got impeached?
Um. All right. Well, that'll be exciting. I'm excited to start watching it. It better be good.
Hey, you know what? I guarantee it's as good as Joe's Life.
All right. I'll
Yeah,
take it.
yeah. Because we'd know of it if it weren't.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, hey, those guys who made Northern Exposure made like some show about how cool it is to insert horrific idea here. But
Well, I'm a big fan of Northern Exposure,
I know. I was very excited.
I'm excited for this. I wish.
And none of the people in that cast list name is recognizably synonymous with a MAGA person in 2020.
None of those cast members you named are recognizable. So, to me.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is Janine Turner recognizable for anything but being a MAGA?
She was on one of the commercials of Joe's Life.
I know. And I
Chevy
skipped
commercial.
through it because I was like, fuck you, lady.
Yeah, I know, she's terrible.
Like, you garbage human.
She came up to Alaska for a while to promote some shitty politician up there.
Was it Sarah
was like,
Palin?
no, it was some local politician guy. Anyway, well, that'll be exciting. I can't wait to check out Going to Extremes, an ABC drama, not
Also
a comedy.
from the early 90s.
Also from the early 90s.
I think, and we got to get going, but I think the reason that we're finding all these ABC ones is because NBC shows made it more than one season, and nobody preserved CBS shows. Either ones that made it more than a season or not.
Yeah.
They were unpreserved. So people were gluttons for punishment and converted their VHS recordings of ABC shows.
Awesome.
For us.
Well, thank you for listening to us, folks, while we watch Joe's Life. Andrew, thank you for watching Joe's Life.
Emily, thank you for choosing Joe's Life.
You're welcome. And I will see you in Television Land.
I'll see you in Television Land, Emily.